Alrighty Aphrodite, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Do you believe in alternate realities? An idea that somewhere out there in the cosmos there is a version of you who is completely different based on the choices that you made, or at least in our timeline, didn't make. The idea that if you chose to have a tuna melt instead of a chicken BLT, you would have an entirely different life. Whilst it's extremely hard to prove, there's definitely a sense of believability there. I might even subscribe to it, I don't really know. And whilst it's extremely hard to prove, there is an idea that it happens. And one of the ways that people try to prove this is the Mandela Effect. And just in case you don't know the Mandela Effect, it's the idea that people have misremembered something because in the past, it was something different. The idea that there must have been at some point a glitch in the Matrix and it's altered our reality, our timeline. And whilst there's a lot of famous examples, as we kind of go down this iceberg today, there might be a few things that you thought you knew, but you actually didn't. Things that you thought were fact, but actually they're not. Things that you thought existed, but never did. And I'm really excited to see this play out, so without further ado, this is the Mandela Effect Iceberg Explained. First on the list today is the idea that Nelson Mandela died in prison. And this is the reason the Mandela Effect exists, because he was the first very popular case of it. When Nelson Mandela died in 2013, a few people were confused because they swore that Nelson Mandela died ages ago. They thought that he died in prison a long time ago, despite the fact that Nelson Mandela became a free man in 1990. He had been free for 23 years. And this is where the Mandela Effect came from, hence the name, the Mandela Effect. With each year, it just gets more and more popular, with more people telling their stories and others agreeing. It's a crazy phenomena, and yeah, let's get into the rest and see what you think. The Berenstein Bears is the one that I hear the most. If you know anything about the Mandela Effect, you've probably heard of the Berenstein Bears, because basically this book turned TV show is called the Berenstein Bears. But for the longest time, everyone thought that it was the Berenstein Bears. And so the question is, was it? Was this just misinformation? Was this mismass remembering? Or was it always the Berenstein Bears? And in fact, it has always been the Berenstein Bears. It's never been the Berenstein Bears, despite the fact that everyone thought it was.
Coincidence? I think not!
It's only a letter, so it's very simple to kind of get that wrong. So hopefully we'll get more concrete stuff as we keep on going down. How do you spell Looney Tunes? It should be an easy question to answer, right? But most people, I think, would get it wrong, because Looney Tunes is spelt with L-O-O-N-E-Y, and then the tunes bit is what kind of caught people off guard, because instead of being T-O-O-N-S, like most people think, it's actually T-U-N-E-S. And I have a theory as to why people kind of think it should be T-O-O-N-S, and it's because, first of all, cartoon has tune in it, and second of all, Looney Tunes, it makes sense with the double O. Looney Tunes, on the other hand, being spelled T-U-N-E-S, doesn't really make as much sense because a tune is a song. Tune, as in cartoon, makes much more sense. So again, this is one that I can kind of understand if people get it wrong, but some of the later entries are definitely things where it's like, okay, actually, wait, this isn't? We're still on the Mandela classics here. Monopoly Man, right? If you don't know this one, let's play a game, alright? Throughout this video, I'm going to have two pictures of various Mandela effects, and I want you to keep score. Be honest with yourself, and only if you don't already know the answer, and keep a score of how many you got. So, the Monopoly Man. Which of these two pictures do you think looks more like him? Which one is the actual Monopoly Man, and which one is a fake? If you answered that the one with the monocle is real, you would be wrong. He has never had a monocle. If you swear he did, he never has, and he probably never will. If you were to ask me and I didn't know, I would probably say that he had a monocle, because it just makes sense with his attire. Some people swear by the fact that the Monopoly Man has at some point had a monocle, but never has he ever had a monocle. So use with that information what you will. Finally, on this top tier, we're going to cover movie quotes, and as you kind of go down, you'll find out that there's so many of the most iconic lines that just didn't exist. And it has to be said that the most famous of these is Luke, I am your father. Never in Star Wars was the words Luke, I am your father ever said. Darth Vader did not say that to Luke. Instead, Luke says, you killed my father, to which Vader replies, no, I am your father.
He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
Never did he say Luke, and it's one of the most quoted lines of all time. It doesn't actually exist. It's not a line. A moth has just entered the recording studio. Get out. The Kit Kat is a personal favourite chocolate of mine. It's easy to eat, you kind of break them up, they taste delicious, and it's one of the most sustainably made chocolates in the world because they make Kit Kat wafer after kind of broken Kit Kats. Kit Kats that didn't make the cut are then kind of crushed down to make further Kit Kats. It's great. I don't know if you've ever had to write down the words Kit Kat, but if you were going to, how would you spell it? Would you put in a hyphen or no hyphen? Because if you were to put down a hyphen, you'd be wrong. Kit Kat is actually one word, I think, 2 words maybe, but there is no hyphen between them. There never has been. If you thought there was, you are incorrect. It seems so natural, but it has never been. Never. Pikachu's tail, I think, is another classic one. Which of these 2 pictures over here, which looks correct? I hope you're scoring this by yourself as well. And let me know down in the comments what your end score is. Does he have this tail, or does he have like that tail over there? If you said that he had a plain tail, you would be correct. He does have a plain tail. He has never had any black on his tail. And when you look at it like that, he kind of looks a bit bare, doesn't he? I swore that Pikachu had black on his tail. I used to watch Pokemon all the time as a child, and I always thought he had black on his tail. I can remember it. I remember the design, but no, my brain made that up. And we'll get into the ideas of why this exists further down. I have my own theories, but it is incredible because I swear I distinctly remember him having black on his tail, but he never has. If I look him up, I will never see a picture of Pikachu with black on his tail, which is mind-boggling to me. I don't really use a lot of emojis, so I don't know if this one's like mental, but have you ever used the robber emoji? If you said yes, then you're lying. You never have, because it has never existed. There has never been a burglar emoji as far as I'm aware. To fact check this, I watched the Emoji Movie and I did not see any robber anywhere. I mean, I was robbed of my time and money, but there was no robber on the screen. Life is like a box of chocolates, isn't it? You never know what you're gonna get. Here's the thing though, no it's not. And here's why. Life is not like a box of chocolates. It was like a box of chocolates before, but it is not currently a box of chocolates. The words life is like a box of chocolates was never said in Forrest Gump. It was like a box of chocolates.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
I guess if you were to say it is a box of chocolates, that puts you in the present, and that's why I think it works a bit better, because it's saying that there is uncertain future, you don't know what you're gonna get. If you say it was like a box of chocolates, then the past is already, you're already in the past, so you are living what the chocolates were. Don't ask me why I'm studying this so hard, but I guess that to me makes sense as to why we say it is like a box of chocolates rather than it was, because we are in the present right now. It is the future that we're looking for. Having said that, the line just holds up because you do never know what you're going to get. Even the line itself is a testament to the line itself. On the topic of movie quotes, Hannibal Lecter was once thought to say, "Hello, Clarice," on the arrival of Jodie Foster's character in the 1991 classic Silence of the Lambs. Here's the thing though, he never said it. And this one, out of all of them, this one might get me the most because I swear I've heard it. Maybe it was in some sort of parody, but it just doesn't make any sense in the movie because he doesn't know her name. It doesn't make any sense, but I swear I can remember that line in my head. But logically, I know it doesn't because Jodie Foster introduces her character in the movie.
Good morning.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
You're one of Jack Crawford's, aren't you?
A glitch in the Matrix? Potentially. Especially for this one. I'll believe it for this one. It's time for round 3, alright? Hope you're keeping score. Fruit of the Loom logo. What do we got here? Cornucopia or no cornucopia? Well, if you think that it has a cornucopia, you would be wrong. It would be no cornucopia. That is the answer. For some reason, a lot of people, myself included, remember a cornucopia there, and it has never existed. If you look up the Fruit of the Loom logo, it does not exist. This is the thing about the Mandela Effect that creeps me out the most, is that we all remember the same thing. If there was and we don't remember it, that's one thing, but the fact that we all remember a cornucopia just completely freaks me out. It's an insane phenomena. But keep in mind that the human memory is just so flawed, we don't really take into account just basic things. If the Mandela Effect wasn't a thing, people wouldn't be studying the Fruit of the Loom logo. So the fact that we try and, I guess, make up these mental images in our mind, maybe the cornucopia goes. But nonetheless, it's just an incredible phenomena. Alright, up next, we're going to do a little speed round, because I kind of feel like a lot of these are just very surface level, so let's run right through them, right? First of all, we've got, it is Sex and the City, not Sex in the City. The fruit in Fruit Loops is spelt F-R-O-O-T, so basically the opposite of the Looney Tunes situation, where it should be fruit, you know, like just normal, but it is spelt with 2 O's. The Volkswagen logo is really annoyingly detached, like right between the V and the W. It doesn't kind of go through, it's not a flowing design. Throughout the entire Star Wars franchise, C-3PO had a silver leg. He has never just been gold, he has always had a silver leg, even in A New Hope and all of the rest. The brand Jiffy has never existed, it has always been Jif. I've never really studied the Ford logo, but I have never noticed that there is a little squiggle on the F. If you have a Ford, great. Did you know that there is a little squiggle on the F? You might have never seen it before. Elementary, My Dear Watson is based on a lie. As far as I'm aware, in the original Sherlock Holmes, there has never been a kind of Elementary, My Dear Watson. It's actually a contraction of 2 things that Sherlock says. The first of them saying, My Dear Watson, and in a later sentence saying, elementary. He never said it in the same sentence, and so whilst this is perhaps the most famous Sherlock Holmes quote, it doesn't actually exist, at least originally. I'm not too sure if they've mentioned it in recent adaptations, but I'm talking in the old books, never said. And last but not least, in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the evil queen never ever says mirror mirror on the wall. What she actually says is magic mirror on the wall. It's the most famous quote from the movie, it doesn't actually exist.
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
And so, if you didn't know, if you've been saying mirror mirror on the wall all these years, you've been saying lies. It doesn't actually exist, which, again, most of these are the most famous quotes of the movies, but they're fan-made. From here on out, things get a bit more obscure, and there might be a few of these that you haven't actually heard before, so get ready to have your reality shattered in front of your eyes, and the first one hurts. The first one really hurts. It's the Fonz. Never once in the entirety of Happy Days does the Fonz ever stick his thumb up and go, "Hey!" Never happens. He sticks his thumb up throughout the show, he does it in the theme song. He says, "Hey!" a lot, but never did he ever do both at the same time. He kind of opens his palms up and stuff, and he opens his body up, and that's when he goes, "Hey!" Hey! But he doesn't do the thumb. And so we've been getting the Fonz wrong all these years. Our favourite Fonz quote is again, a lie. The same thing goes for the iconic Tom Cruise scene in Risky Business. I have not seen this movie, but I've seen it parodied a lot. And every single parody has Tom Cruise's character wearing shades. For some reason, the creators of Simpsons and even South Park and ourselves have remembered him to have glasses, but he does not wear glasses in the dance scene. He never has. So where we came up with this idea, we remember him to have shades, but he didn't. We all do, and that's just the creepiest thing about the Mandela Effect, is that we all remember the same thing, but actually we don't. Don't trust your memory. Speaking of all these lies, even Mr. Rogers himself isn't safe. We have been lied to all these years, or at least we have just misheard him all these years, because Mr. Rogers does not say "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood." It is the title of a movie about Mr. Rogers, for Christ's sake, and he never says the line. He always says "It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood." He doesn't say the neighborhood.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
This and the can be easily confused, but the fact that it's the title of a movie and they didn't even get the quote right is kind of funny. From one old man to another, I think that Americans will be more prone to this one than the rest of the world, because this is an American serial, but this guy right here, he is Captain Crunch. Some people, I guess, thought that at some point in his career he'd been rising through the ranks of the Navy to get the prestigious title of captain, but he never did. He is just Captain. This one's kind of whack to me, right? This one is wild. Out of all of the ones on this list, this one right now might be the wildest, and it's the idea that there is a Bug's Life 2. I think I should mention, right, if it's just that there is the existence of A Bug's Life 2, then that's one thing. But if some people can remember the movie, then that is another kettle of fish, and that needs to seriously be looked into. If several people throughout the world can remember the same movie that didn't exist. As it is, I think that it's just A Bug's Life 2 exists, but if it is that people can remember a narrative and remember shots from the film that never existed, that would be kind of mental. It's time for round 4 in our games, and this one's a little bit more obscure than the first 3, so I guess as we go along, more people will be allowed to play. So again, keep your score and remember how many you've done, but Shaggy from the original Scooby-Doo. Which of these 2 pictures looks like Shaggy? Which one is the real one? If you said that it's the one with the Adam's apple, you would be incorrect, unfortunately. Shaggy never has had an Adam's apple, despite the fact that, again, I swear I remember him to have one. Obviously, like, every time he goes, then he'll have one. But apart from that, he's never drawn with an Adam's apple, which makes sense considering, like, the budget that the original cartoon was on. But at least originally, he doesn't have one. Even in the recent adaptations, I don't know if he does, but in the original Scooby-Doo cartoon, he does not. When it comes to Judge Judy, perhaps it's just that she is a judge and it's kind of force of association, but we always think of her as a woman with a gavel. She does not actually have a gavel. She posed with them for kind of promos and stuff, but never once in the show did she ever bang down a gavel. It wasn't part of her character. And so if you don't believe me, watch back through the show. I will be proven correct, I guess. At least so my research suggests. I don't really watch the show, but she doesn't have a gavel. She never has. She never will. I don't really know what she did, to be honest, to quieten people down, but she did not have a gavel to do so. This next one's a bit of a weird one, but in the most iconic portrait of Henry VIII, a few people believe that he has a chicken leg in his hand. Long story short, he doesn't. I don't know why he would pose with that. I don't know why someone would draw him with that. He doesn't. Baloo wearing a coconut bra is another one where, like, I swear I had this, and I didn't even know. I've never seen it before, and so this kind of blew my mind, but in the Jungle Book, I swear I remember at some point Baloo wearing a coconut bra, because he wore a grass skirt, and so those two things go together, but he never did. I watched through the scene again that I thought it was, and he just doesn't wear a coconut bra. So where I got this memory from, I don't know, but it just kind of proves how fickle and how untrustworthy our own memories are, and that's kind of scary. Fun fact about me, I've only ever drank at Starbucks twice, and so really I don't know and don't really care too much about this one, but we'll do a little game out of it. Round 5, here we go. Which of these 2 pictures looks like it exists? Which crown is real? If you said the one on the right, then you'd be right. Her crown actually has a star in the middle. It's not just a normal kind of crown, which is, you know, I guess if you drink at Starbucks a lot, the more you know, and you might swear that this is wrong, but it is true, look it up. I want to say that Scarecrow with a Gun is referencing the fact that he did have a gun, and I guess a lot of people didn't see this, but in the original Wizard of Oz, I think that the Scarecrow is actually packing heat. Despite the fact that it is a kid's film, I think he actually does have like a revolver in his hand, and we just didn't see it when we were kids. I know I didn't, and so when I found this out, that was like a massive shock to me. I don't know what I thought he had, but I do not ever think that he was carrying a little pistol with him. Apparently he was. Mickey Mouse is one of the few characters that actually has 2 Mandela effects about them. Which of these is correct? How does Mickey wear his clothes? Does he wear them as shorts, or does he wear them as kind of more suspender type dungaree style? That kind of stuff. He actually wears them as shorts. If you thought that he wore them as dungarees, you would be wrong. Second question, getting rid of those pictures now. Does Mickey Mouse have a tail? It's kind of like Stanley from The Office, where it's like, does he have a mustache or does he not? Mickey Mouse has to be one of the most iconic characters ever. Does he have a tail? Yes, he does. All the way dating back to his original debut in the Steamboat Whistling, he had a tail. He always has had a tail. A lot of people don't think he did, which is mental. For 100 years, Mickey Mouse has had a tail. This one really annoys me because Casablanca is one of my favourite films of all time, but never once in the film does anyone say, "Play it again, Sam." People ask the character of Sam to play it as time goes by, but they say it in different ways. You have Ingrid Bergman's character who says, "Play it once, Sam, for old time's sake," as well as, "Play it, Sam, play as time goes by." And then you have Rick's character who says, "You played it for her, you can play it for me." They're all speaking to Sam's character, but never once does anyone say, Play it again, Sam. Another one aimed at my American audience here. Picture good old Uncle Sam. Do you remember what his hat looks like? I mean, the guy's been around for years, so stripes or no stripes. If you thought that he had a plain hat, you would be correct. He has a plain hat now. He had a plain hat back then, and despite the fact that his hat is just iconic in American culture, people wear it all the time for kind of like 4th of July stuff and celebrating America and dressing as Uncle Sam, he doesn't actually wear one. He literally just has the stars and then white. I think the reason behind this is that kind of America's always stars and stripes, and so when you have good old Uncle Sam wearing stars, stripes shouldn't really be far behind, right? But no, he just has a blue and white hat. I've personally been done again. I thought that Rubik's Cube was spelt with an X. It is actually spelt with a K. So the question is, who is Rubik? And why is he spelt his name wrong? You're Rubik's, mate. Get it right. Whoever this Rubik guy is, I hate him. Change your name to Rubik's. This next one's a bit sketchy, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, this one is a bit sketchy, and so if you kind of fall to this one, it's a bit rough. Think back to the original Karate Kid movie, right? One of my favorite films. I love it. I love it to bits, and I love Cobra Kai as well. Think to Daniel's headband. What do you remember? Do you remember its color? A lot of people remember his headband as the flag of the rising sun. It was not. Unfortunately, his headband does actually have a very similar design. It's got a black circle in the middle with lines coming out of it in all directions. Very similar in fairness to the rising sun, which is a kind of light red circle and lines coming out in all directions. But based on the fact that the rising sun flag is extremely controversial, it is a bit rough. But it is a shame that people associate this movie, which is extreme appreciation for Japanese culture and especially karate, with the flag of the rising sun. Even if the flag of the rising sun never makes an appearance, people just kind of associate it with Daniel's headband, which again is black. I'm really not too sure why this one is part of the Mandela Effect, considering it actually was a meme before it happened, but some people thought that Leonardo DiCaprio got an Oscar before he did. He won his first Oscar back in 2016 for The Revenant, and some people swear that he had won one before, despite the fact that it was kind of known that he had been up for, I believe, 4 or 5 nominations and didn't walk home with one Academy Award. At least in my memory, when he won it, that was just a massive moment for the Academy Awards, because he'd been in so many things, he'd been up for it so many times and he hadn't won, and it was memey at that point. He'd been up for it like almost 2 or 3 years in a row, I swear, before, and then finally he won it, and it was a massive thing. I could probably understand why, because Leo DiCaprio doesn't really act in any bad movies, so it would just make sense that he'd eventually win one, but he didn't actually win one until 2016, despite the fact that his career spans, 20 years, and he is constantly in some of the best movies out there. Still though, he never won one before 2016. And to be honest, I've fallen for a lot of these as well, so really, who am I to judge? This next one's actually really fun, and I would expect, again, Americans to outperform the rest of the world, but I'd be interested to find out. This is the only time where we get 3 options to choose from. Which of these looks most like Target? Which of these is the actual logo for Target? I'll give you a second for that one, right? And remember, keep score. If you thought it was the one in the middle, you would be wrong. It is not the one in the middle. If you thought it was the one on the right, you would also be wrong. Bad luck, thank you for playing. It is actually the one on the left. Many people swear by the fact that Target has 2 rings outside the center circle, but no, it never has. It's always been this one on the left. I'm gonna do another speed round just so we can get to the depths of the iceberg a bit sooner, so here we go. The Flinstones is, was, and always has been the Flintstones, not the Flinstones. It's always had 2 T's in the name. Gandalf never says, "Run, you fools!" He actually says, "Fly, you fools."
Fly, you fools.
Which doesn't make as much sense in my opinion, but you know what? Who cares? Ghandi is another one that I've fallen victim to. His name is spelt with an H at the end, not at the start. So I've always spelt it Ghandi, but it's actually Gandhi. I've been spelling this guy's name wrong my entire life. I haven't heard of this one before, but some people think that it's spelt Pepto-Bismol. It's not, it's actually Pepto-Bismol, and it's only 1 L right at the end of Bismol. This one's actually kind of a cruel joke, but there's this rumor that Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Here's the thing though, he didn't actually say that, so people have been quoting Einstein wrong. The actual quote is attributed to potentially Mark Twain. Some people also think that it's an old Chinese proverb, but I guess when you're trying to quote Einstein, make sure you get him right, because he didn't say that. Maybe that's just more misinformation than Mandela Effect, because I guess you get taught that, you don't remember it, but yeah, he never actually said it. This one just kind of hurts your beloved Christmas childhood memories, but Frosty the Snowman does not have a scarf. At least not in the original movie, he doesn't. I think in kind of recent incarnations he does have one because that's what everyone associates him with, but at least originally Frosty did not have a scarf. And the final entry on this speedrun round is that Neil Armstrong is still alive. He's not, he actually died in 2012. And with Mike Collins dying this year, it means that Buzz Aldrin is the final member of that great moon landing crew that is still alive today. Alright, from here on out, these should be things that you probably haven't heard of before, at least in regards to the Mandela Effect. So hopefully down here, I'm going to kind of burst your mind a little bit, because all the things here is gospel as far as I know. So here we go. I don't even know if I can show this. I don't know if YouTube guidelines allow me to, but the swastika, right? I guess they say it's flipped or something. Some people draw the swastika wrong, basically. Some people think it's like this. I always thought it was just a really hard design, so it doesn't surprise me. Another weird one here, at least in my opinion, I've never been subject to this, but apparently some people are. Some people believe that Nikola Tesla's name is Nikolai Tesla. And I understand that kind of Nikolai and Nicholas are more common in the English language than Nikola, but no, his name was never Nikolai, or I guess if you thought it was Nicholas, it's not. My light just turned off. It is Nicola. We're back to movies now, and I would say of all Christmas films, mine is about an angry green man who hates Christmas and wants to steal it. My question to you is, what is the title of that movie? I'm talking the full title. I don't just want The Grinch, right? Because that's his name. What's the full title? Before it was the Jim Carrey version, it was the original movie, and before that, it was a book, and all three adaptations, they're all called the same thing. It is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Almost a how-to guide of, if you were to steal Christmas, this is how you would do it. It isn't and never has been The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. It has always been How the Grinch Stole Christmas. On to the final misquoted line. This one actually might be up there with Luke, I am your father, except I guess it's not really known about as much in Mandela lore, but he's the most iconic spy of all time, the most famous spy of all time, which might be a bad thing, but the most famous quote of Bond's is, "The name's Bond. James Bond." And actually, it's not. In the movie in which he says it for the first time, he's having a poker game and a woman asks him, "What is your name?" To which he replies,
Bond. James Bond.
He never says the name's Bond. He is only answering a question. So again, misquoted, and it's one of the most iconic lines from one of the most iconic characters of all time, but it doesn't actually exist. Little quick one here. Tony the Tiger, which of these looks like his actual nose? Is it blue? Is it black? And I can reveal to you that it is blue. It is a blue one. He has a blue nose, and he always has. So if you thought he had black, if you remembered him to have a black nose, your memory is failing you. I think this one is more myth than Mandela, but there's a rumor that if you put a frog into boiling water, it won't know that it's boiling and it won't hop out. It will die in the water. This is untrue. Frogs do know the temperature of water. The second it gets too hot, the frog will jump out. Down to the bottom tier, we're going to try and mindfuck you at least once more. So here we go. First one is that a dazed and confused world proves that we're living in an alternate reality. And we've kind of touched on this before. It definitely could, right? It definitely could. I'm not convinced personally, but I'm not going to kind of throw it out there and say no for certain, because the fact that we all misremember things and add things, that's the scariest part, is that sometimes we all add the same thing, and that is very, very interesting to me, that we all happen to remember the same thing that doesn't actually exist, rather than taking things out that do. It's just an interesting phenomenon. It's so interesting to me. Also, we have New Zealand is to the left of Australia. This is a weird one, and it kind of, at least in my opinion, is just someone bad at geography. New Zealand's always been to the right of Australia. I don't know who thought it wasn't, but again, I don't really want to judge because a lot of these I have got incorrect myself. The same person might believe that the USA has 60 states. It does not. It has only ever had a maximum of 50 and maybe in the future 52, depending on a few things. It started with the original 13 colonies, didn't it? And then it kind of expanded outwards. And the last added states, to my knowledge, were Alaska and Hawaii, both in the 50s. So never 60, never more than 50. That's kind of way off. Some people remember that Hitler had brown eyes. He never did. He always had blue eyes, and you would think that if he is the biggest supporter of Aryanism, then he would at least have some of the traits, because he's definitely not blonde. I guess it's kind of hard to tell because most of Hitler's pictures are in black and white, but if you were to see them, I actually think he has quite piercing blue eyes as well. I always remembered him to have blue eyes, but I'm sure there would be a few people that are just learning this now. He did in fact have blue eyes. Some people think that the peace symbol is the wrong way around. Some people remember it as kind of line up and then like that. Never has been like that. It has always been round and then down. Again, I've always thought it to be that way, but maybe you thought it was up. It's not. I'm definitely a victim of this next one, but it's not because it's any Mandela effect, it's just because I'm an idiot. But I once thought that the North Pole was an actual place with geographical landmass. Not that it was like a country or anything, but I thought it was just a part of Greenland or something like that. The North Pole is actually kind of a geographical location at the top of the world where I guess it includes some of Greenland, but it's not like an actual part of Greenland itself. It's kind of like this bit up here is the North Pole territory. So yeah, if you were like me and thought that the North Pole had some sort of landmass, it doesn't. You can't like walk on the North Pole. You can just walk in places that are in the North Pole, if you understand me. The pyramids are aligned with Orion's constellation. This is one that I know nothing about. In terms of star constellations and stuff, that has to rank down as some of the stuff I'm weakest at. I don't know any about it. But some people believe that the pyramids were aligned with Orion. They're not. I believe they're actually aligned with like the Big Dipper and Small Dipper or something, maybe. Again, I know nothing about constellations, so don't quote me on that. Blood is blue in your veins. No, it's not. This is, again, more misinformation, I think, than anyone remembering that they were taught at school that blood is blue in the veins for, like, legitimate seriousness. I believe that, like, the blue wavelength doesn't travel as far, and so because the veins are kind of close up to your skin, people believe that they are blue. This is, again, untrue. It's a misconception, and maybe Mandela, but I would more say it's a misconception than anything. And I'm going to move on to the final one, personal Mandela effects. Moments in your life that you swear happened, but everyone else says they didn't. Personally, for me, I remember this one so vividly clear, but when I was about 4 years old, I swear that I had a surprise birthday party at my preschool. I would have been 3, actually. I wouldn't have been 4. I would have been 3. And or maybe even 2. And I swear I had a surprise birthday party. Here's the thing, though. Logically, I didn't, because my birthday is at the end of July, so I don't think school would be in session. And also, the way I remember it is that I went around to a bunch of my friends, and asked if they remembered my birthday, and they all said no. And that's kind of the plot of like a lot of kids' TV shows, where it's like, no one remembered my birthday. Guess I'll just go home. And then they're like waiting for them, like, surprise. So realistically, I don't think it happened. Was it a dream? Maybe, but I swear I remember it. Like, I can't remember many things from preschool, but I swear I remember that. And that kind of freaks me out that these are false memories that have been like implanted by my own brain. Was it the first memory? Was it my first dream that I can remember, my earliest dream? I don't know, but it's incredibly fascinating. So fascinating. So anyway, I'd love to hear your stories, so please let me know down in the comments. So yeah, there we have it. That's it from me. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please do subscribe. We are kind of working our way up very fast, and I'd love to have you as a part of the channel. We have a bunch of social media, so, go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, join my Discord, should I say, Patreon, all of that stuff. Thank you to my backers, Chris M and Cage101. You guys are awesome, and yeah, I'll still be doing some really cool stuff. I just need to think of some stories and some interesting things to do for you guys. Hi everyone, Fox the next day here. My camera cut out right before I could finish the video. So anyway, shout out to Silent Chatterbox 52. This video could not have been done without you. We also just hit 16k this morning, so thank you guys so much. It's been a real ride. And lastly, please let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, because I'm only 68 videos in and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.